This video is brought to you by Osmocote, the planter's plant food.
I'm Amy Grisak, a garden writer in Great Falls, Montana, and I didn't want to finish up this year's garden harvest until I showed you how to do it at home. Now last week, it was towards the end of July, I harvested a good amount of our garlic because we needed to enter exhibits in the state fair. Very, very simple to do. This is a hard-necked garlic with nice size heads, nice size cloves. And all I did was the night before the fair, before we're going to submit our entries, is I dug it and then I put it on a table, a little metal patio table we had, and took the hose to it, washed it down, got as much dirt as I could out of all the little roots, which can be quite a challenge. And then I just put it whole in this basket. So very simple. There's a few on the bottom, but the big thing is air circulation. So here in Montana, we often have 13% humidity, so molding isn't as much of an issue. So I put double layers in this basket. But if you're in other areas of the country, like in the Midwest, I strongly recommend just put a single layer, whether you're putting it in a basket or spread out newspapers in the garage, put them on the floor, a garden shed, same thing. Spread them out in single layers so there's plenty of air circulation that gives these heads time to cure, which will allow you to be able to keep them throughout the winter, and a lot of times up until you're harvesting garlic next summer. So this is one way you can cure your garlic. Now today, I'm going to show you just digging some of the new ones, new variety for me. It's a garlic that a friend gave me. It's much smaller, but it's supposed to have really, really good flavor. So I'm going to try digging a few. And since these are smaller, I'm going to be a little bit different on how I cure and store them. So that's just easy as that. Just digging it up. And then we're going to take it over here in just a moment, and I'll show you how to hose it off and how you don't need to be careful. But your goal is just to get off all this lovely mud, because we got rain last night, which is fantastic. But just want to get off the dirt. Okay, now after digging the garlic, the next thing you have to do is wash it, and then also sometimes cut the stems, but get it in a place where it can cure properly with plenty of air circulation. So washing is pretty straightforward. Just take the hose and get off all, not all, but as much of the dirt as you possibly can. Especially, ooh, look, even got an earthworm down in the roots. So I'll throw that baby back there. But you definitely just want to get off as much of the dirt as possible. And you really can't hurt it. If you peel off a little bit of the outer covering, it's not a big deal. You don't want to take it all off, but if a little comes off, don't worry about it. And sometimes even I haven't even washed it off completely, just knock off the dirt. But it's just a lot less messy when you're storing it for the winter, and also for when you're using it during the winter too. I think that's pretty much there. So now, since this isn't a very big garlic and I don't have very much of it, I'm just going to store it in this basket, and I'm just going to cut it a little bit too. I'm going to cut it to there so my clove is ready to store. So I'll just cut all these, because this will only be a single layer in this basket. If it was heaping up or a double layer, then I definitely wouldn't just put it all in one basket. I would put it in, or in this size, I would put in something larger like this, so it'd be a single layer. Or like I said, you could spread it out on the garden shed floor or on the garage floor or workbench, something like that. Don't want to really store it in the basement. It's too cool and too humid most of the time, but in an outbuilding, it's typically a good way to go, and preferably keep it out of direct sunlight too. Just doesn't seem to do it any good. So that's all I did. So it's just not many in there. I'm going to put this on the bench in the garden shed for at least a week, and it's going to develop a nice papery outer covering, and I'll probably actually keep it outside for another week or so after that before I would bring it inside and store it for next winter. actually for the rest of this year too, because I just used up my last garlic from the 2012, from the previous season. So now the other day too, I told you that we harvested this garlic, and this was actually for the fair entry. So this will show you how this is becoming dry and papery, and this has been out of the yard, or out of the garden, probably 6 days now. So it's getting there. It's still kind of moist, but it's not too bad. And so for this one, I left it long in this basket on purpose because I knew I was going to have a couple of layers. I was heaping it up, and I wanted it long to be able to have that air circulation in there. But today I'm just going to start cutting my bulbs on this one too. And like I said, same with the other one. I'm going to pop it back in the garden shed on my workbench there for at least another week on this one, and then we'll be able to store it for the winter. Now I have a lot of people ask me, where do you store garlic? Because they'll put it in places and it'll mold or it will rot and become bad months before it should. Now I just put mine in the pantry. I have a little plastic container. It has holes in it. It's a little slide out drawer. I just put it in there and it's just fine and dandy. Now if you have mold issues with your garlic, chances are that mold was in the garlic before you stored it. So it's also a good time at this time before you put it away for the winter to inspect those bulbs to see, do you have any mold growing, or is there any damage on any of your cloves? And don't store that with the others. If you do have some that are banged up or look like there might be mold, pull that out, use that right away, and don't basically contaminate the rest of the batch with that. But if you put away your healthy bulbs, and they'll be able to store, like I said, really up until next year's garlic harvest. Now one more thing I did want to show you before you do store it away for the winter, and I may not necessarily do that to all this right now, I cut off the roots too. So it's just, you don't have to, absolutely have to, but it just keeps things nice and neat. So I'll just leave the roots on for now, and it's just one more thing I'll do before storing it away for winter. But just want to let you know that's one more thing you can do. But when you're digging and storing your hardneck garlic, as long as you clean it fairly well, cure it thoroughly, that's the absolute key, and put it in a place where there's plenty of air circulation and it stays nice and dark and fairly warm. Once again, you don't want to put garlic in the basement where it's kind of cool and humid. It does not like that. So a little bit warm, plenty of air circulation, and you're going to enjoy your garlic up until next summer.